Greetings and welcome to another episode of Going All In, Get the Edge You Need to Succeed. I am 1 week post attending the Arnold Sports Festival in Columbus, Ohio. And as a nutrition professional, I want to give my hot take on what I thought about the event and just some questions that y'all sent in through my Instagram, as some of you are very curious as to the happenings and going-ons of that event outside of what is seen on social media, in addition to talking about a little bit about how the nutrition industry is definitely underutilized in the world of fitness. All right, so the big question I usually get from folks when I was telling them that I was attending before the event and then post is, why were you there? Kind of random. And sort of is kind of random, but at the same time, if you recall back to our previous episodes of this podcast with my sister, Emily Harrison, she is a professional Highland Games athlete at the master's level, which is those that are 40 plus and who are not considered lightweight, so not under 150 pounds. And so usually for the Arnold, for the events, the sporting events that take place, you have to apply, and you either apply to the Arnold organization itself or one of the regional organizations that will be handling that particular event. And so for the Highland Games, it was the Greater Lakes Scottish Athletic Association, I think is what their name is. And so my sister attended and competed at the Arnold in 2022. I think she got a top 5 placement. I don't recall exactly what happened, as I was not there and I missed out on all the fun. So I told her that if she decided to go back this year, that I would definitely go with her. But in the chaos of the timing of when those applications were due, my sister just didn't apply, and they ended up calling her and asking her to attend because they were in need of professionals to compete. And so instead of it being all professionals as they had originally wanted to plan, it would be more of an open, meaning anyone that wasn't considered in the lightweight category could be a part of this. And so she agreed and invited me to go with her so that we could, share rooms and kind of split meals, things like that, kind of make it not so expensive, because everybody knows, just like most conferences, when you go to cities, everything is way more expensive, and everything is way more expensive now anyway. So definitely wanted to attend, help out there. As you know, conference hotels always jack up the rate and then tell you they're giving you a good rate when they're not really giving you that great of a rate. And so we decided to attend, and I was super excited because I had only seen and heard things about this event over the years from folks on social media and other friends of mine who are or were more connected to the fitness world over the last decade. And so that's why we were there. My sister competed in the Women's Open, and she was the favorite going into competition day, which was Saturday. So the Arnold runs Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as far as the big expo goes. But then there's events. I want to say there was amateur bodybuilding maybe on Thursday in the facility, but not in the expo area. And so she was the favorite going into Saturday. And as my sister was checking in and getting warmed up, last year's Arnold champion walked in the door and asked if she could compete, kind of last minute. And so since she was the Women's Open winner the previous year, and this particular athlete is good for marketing, good for crowd pleasing and capturing attention, they were like, oh, of course we'll let you in. So my sister text messaged me and was like, okay, I'm guaranteed second. And that's what she did. She worked her ass off and did really well, set some personal records in at least one event, maybe 2 out of the 5. And I can show some videos for you if you've never seen Highland Games before, or if you happen to listen to that last episode and we're like, what is she talking about? Scottish Highland Games, throwing heavy stuff around. What's this? Blah, blah. I'll show you some videos.
Fun drinking beer and arm wrestling. This is a serious sport for these guys. They work out, they worry about their diet, they
number one question I got was, did you see Arnold himself? And yes, I did. He is there. He is around. You don't really have access to him unless you are one of the athletes that's kind of more in the bodybuilding realm. I saw him with my own looking balls right after the world's strongest firefighter competition. He happened to like jump up on stage. And apparently he was sitting in the front row through all the prejudging for bodybuilding, but from my where I was standing, I couldn't see anybody that was sitting in that small area that they had roped off for folks to sit. I wasn't paying attention to anybody else really than what was going on the stage, but he was sitting in the front for a lot of those events. And he has a huge security team of former military, like special forces folks, that kind of create this barrier around him so that he can get from place to place without anybody really getting access to him. But if you look on the Arnold Sports Instagram page, he was around at some of the booths taking photos. If there was, at the time, if a particular booth had a sponsored athlete that was maybe a former Olympian champion, something to that nature, he would show up and like pose for a photo and whatnot. And there's like a funny photo of him. Rain Fuel had one of the bigger booths that were next to the stage area, and they had built this, what is it called? Throne out of what looked like Rain energy cans, but it was all wood and cardboard, but you could still sit on it. And when I was in the Rain Fuel booth, I saw this and thought it was hilarious. And I took a picture of it with like nobody sitting in it. And then there was a picture of him sitting in it. So he was making an effort to go around and say thank you and whatnot. He's extremely gracious to the fitness community, and he has obviously a lot of respect for anybody that has chosen to be in the fitness industry. And so kind of in good faith, especially with a lot of those bigger sponsors, and you can always tell the bigger sponsors, they all had the biggest booths around the stage area, the main stage area where the bodybuilding was taking place, and other bigger events, the little sessions that they were having with some of the athletes where they were just kind of interviewing them and talking. And yeah, so he's around. He's definitely around. And then for the bodybuilding evening finals, so those were ticketed events. I had the pay-per-view just because I wanted to watch it. He was obviously at those, posing with the winners, and he gave a speech on the Saturday evening finals, just kind of commemorating the fact that it was the 35th Arnold Sports Festival as we know it today. And he announced that it was the biggest Arnold. And so I'm curious to see what the number was. Maybe I can find out that information for you. But they definitely felt like it was the biggest one, as there were way too many people there, to the point where you had to kind of get out of the building to get some air, just to like not feel like you were constantly being crushed and pushed through a crowd. But the nice thing about it being a room full of fitness people, we all know how to stand our ground, and no one's really getting bum rushed or anything like that, because we're just being polite, and we all have a common goal while we're there to see what's going on. And there wasn't any kind of emergencies or anything where anyone was freaking out and having to move quickly from one place to another, which was good. So was there anybody else, quote unquote, famous that was there? And so as far as anybody that is famous outside of the world of bodybuilding, I'm not 100% sure. The Rain Fuel booth had Eva Marie's photo on it, and I was like, oh, okay, she must be here if her photo's on the booth. But I didn't see her. I guess she was around on Sunday. I was only there all day Friday, all day Saturday. I flew out Sunday morning. Turns out Sunday is one of the better days to go to the expo. It's a little bit more quiet. You get more access to the bodybuilding athletes that were competing all weekend because they're done, and then they're ready to kind of dedicate time to their sponsors and to do meet and greets and things of that nature. So I saw all these videos pop up with her, and that kind of stinks. I love her. So would have been cool if she was kind of around more when it was a little bit busier. And then as far as the bodybuilding world goes, pretty much everybody was there that you would think of with regard to those that have won the Olympia. A lot of the female competitors were competing in the Arnold that were, top 4 or 5 finishes at the Olympia this year. Chris Bumstead was there. His girlfriend or fiance, Courtney, love her, was not there, but Chris did a few panels. He did some photo sessions where you could pay like $40 or $50 just to have a photo with him. No, thank you. But a great way to make money. Like, congrats on that. So he was around for things. He did a little session on the main stage with somebody. That's when I had saw him, and he was kind of going around, and a lot of the bigger guys, they just magically pop up places, and I don't know. They have like secret tunnels in the back of this Columbus place, the convention center, because you never actually saw these people walking around. They would just magically appear. And so Celsius had a lot of cool people there. I didn't see any athletes that I knew at the Celsius booth. I missed Yarishna Ayala by like 60 seconds when I happened to be kind of crossing by that booth. Big fan of hers in the wellness arena of bodybuilding, and she's so nice on her social media. So, and everyone kind of says that she's super nice. So that would have been cool to see her. I saw Jay Cutler a couple of times. He was at the Celsius booth, and then he was at this kind of side thing out in the hallway doing autographs. I didn't like go up and say hi or anything, but was able to kind of see these folks. And then there was a lot of the old school, and when I say old school, like former competitors of bodybuilding, especially in the men's kind of the classic bodybuilders that have won Arnold's, have won Olympias, and have a following that's really in bodybuilding, but like I recognize the names, but I can't put names with faces. So there were several people that I would like that would smile and wave at me as I'm walking by them, and I'm like, hi, and I'm sure you're wondering why I'm not stopping to get an autograph. I don't know who you are. And then later, when I was watching the Arnold final, they brought out all of the people that were there that were former winners of the men's open since its inception in the 35 years ago. And so I was like, oh, okay. All these dudes that I was walking by were former winners of the Arnold, and still being represented by companies and still doing autograph sessions and things of that nature. So that was pretty cool. I didn't unfortunately get to see any of the female like bikini bodybuilders. They were doing the pre-judging while my sister was competing, and on Friday, I would have had a clear shot to go from where my sister was competing to the stage and back with little trouble. But on Saturday, they added this jiu-jitsu area right next to where my sister was competing, and that attracted a lot of people. There was a lot of people competing, and they were like hanging out all over the place. And then there was a lot of spectators. And so that straight path I had to go back and forth was blocked, and I didn't want to miss anything with regard to my sister's performance. She's able to sometimes film what she's doing, but then I wanted to film from a different angle for her to make sure that she has these videos for future reference and preparing for her next competition. So I completely missed prejudging on Saturday, so I didn't see men's physique or women's bikini. So I didn't really see any of those athletes. So on the women's side, Lauralee Chapados, Ashley Kaltwasser, Jennifer Dory, Maureen, like the big ones, didn't get to see any of those. Even they weren't really doing any meet and greets until Sunday when they were done. But congrats to Lauralee for winning again. Everyone said she was so sweet and nice when they did get to meet with her at the Celsius booth on Sunday. And then on the men's side, I don't really know many men's physique competitors, but I am quite the fan of Aaron Banks. We have the same name. Come on now. So he is the first to win the Olympia and the Arnold in the same year for men's physique. And then he won the Arnold again this year. So things are looking up. And then I just found out he's dating Jay from Houston. if y'all follow her on Instagram, she's like a J-Lo lookalike in the fitness world. Gorgeous. And so she and Erin, sorry, that's what happens when a dude has the same name as me. Erin and Jay are dating now. Some of you will understand that and go look on Instagram and see what I'm talking about. So very, 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 very cute couple. I did get to see, as far as what bodybuilding I was able to see, I got to see the fitness as far as like when they come out and do like more of their figure stuff, and the wellness category. So I got to see the Andrews sisters, Sunny and Marissa. I love them. Sunny's a doctor, Marissa's in dental school, and they somehow figure out how to do that and be bodybuilders and do all the things and do coaching and do posing practice. Like, I don't know how they get that all done. And then I ran into Sunny later in the day on Saturday, right before she was about to go do a meet and greet, and she did a double take at my Christian Dior bag, and I just started laughing and smiled at her. So you can totally get that Christian Dior bag. It's on sale right now. I'll show you a photo of what my fanny pack looked like. It was the hit of the Arnold fashion. I couldn't do anything or talk to anybody without them staring at the fanny pack that I was wearing across my chest first. And then they would say, wait, can you repeat what you said? I was distracted by how amazing that bag is. So of course, that's why I wore it, because it was funny as hell. All right, going through what companies were there. Gosh, there were a lot of companies there, and a lot of companies I thought would be there that weren't. And so big companies that were there, I've already named a couple. The two big ones with regard to energy drink were Celsius and Reign, and they were right kind of diagonally across from each other, which I thought was interesting, but they were both giving out like full cans of their product for free. You could just keep going from person to person to person and get different flavors and whatnot, and they were actually letting you pick flavors. And so I was able to try Celsius for the first time. I don't get the hype. It does not taste good. But I did try the new like 0 calorie, 0 sugar energy, something clean energy from Rain Fuel. It's a slim can version of, or new version of their energy drinks that's coming out this year. And it didn't matter what flavor I tried. They were all amazing. So I think am I an energy drink person? I think I might be an energy drink person now. It was that good. Watch out, the caffeine's coming. Other big companies that were there, Wolfpack backpacks. That is my 5th Wolfpack. I bought that one while we were there. I really wanted a particular one that I kept seeing online, and they told me they had it, and then they had just run out. So the expo opened at 10 a.m., but you could pay for VIP to get you in an hour early. I didn't pay for VIP because I didn't think I needed to. I thought I was going to have some sort of like coach badge with my sister. Nope. And so by the time I got to the Wolfpack booth, the backpack I wanted was already sold out. But I saw this one sitting on the floor and was like, wait a minute, since when do y'all make a big version of that particular leopard print? And she's like, oh, it's brand new. I was like, I'll take that one. And so I probably paid about the same I would have if I had bought it online. They were charging tax and some sort of handling fee, almost like they wanted to make sure they made the shipping money. But I never saw a receipt. They never emailed it to me. But I didn't find out till the next day that the backpack wasn't even on sale yet. And so that went on sale, I think the Monday or Tuesday after the Arnold. So I felt special for like 48 hours. But I now carry this backpack every day because it is the best backpack ever. I highly suggest, if you need a backpack with ridiculous amounts of compartments and space, Wolfpack's worth the investment. It is not one of the meal prep bags. It is just one of the regular ones, as I am not that hardcore with my meal prep when I probably should be. Other companies that were there, a lot of companies that I had never really heard of that were newer in the realm of making food products with protein. And so there was one that was like called No Cow. It was like making like their version of like a Reese's peanut butter cup that was completely vegan. I thought it tasted like a Quest bar. Like, there's only so many ways you can remanufacture protein and make it taste a little different. There was another company that made the cinnamon rolls and like these imitation Pop-Tarts, which the box looked delicious. But when they would actually take it out of the bag, it was like 2 times as thick as maybe 3 times as thick as a normal Pop-Tart. And it was gritty with that protein taste. And I just can't with that. A lot of people don't mind it. I just can't. There were a lot of companies, obviously with protein powders, pre-workouts, all the things. And so my sister was going around taking shots of pre-workout here, there, and everywhere. So that didn't really seem to bother her. But we waited and tried that company. I'm not sure what it's called, like Beta. They were the ones on Shark Tank, where it's pretty much like a Tide Pod of protein powder, and you put it in your shaker, shake it up, the plastic dissolves, and it's edible. And so I wanted to try that. And they had like these drink machines, kind of like the ones that you would see at Salad Station, that has the lemonade kind of rolling through it. And they had the protein and the collagen and the pre-workout. And then, so they had the plant-based protein, which I don't do whey. So that I was not sampling a lot. I don't really do pre-workout because I'm kind of scared of the ridiculous amount of caffeine that's in some of them. I just don't need heart palpitations if I don't need to. And so I like plant-based protein. So they had one and I tried it. Obviously they're mixing this with water. I get that. But when it just tastes like water, I'm going to say something. And so there was a representative from the company standing right next to us. And she's like, oh, what do you think? And I was like, it just tasted like watered down chocolate water. Like, and she's like, oh, well, it tastes better if you mix it with like plant-based milk. And I'm like, well, why don't you mix it with plant-based milk, like oat milk? Because your average person probably isn't going to be allergic to oats if you were trying to eliminate any kind of nut thing or dairy thing. And they were kind of like, like not really interested in my tips for that. Other companies that were there, equipment companies, obviously Rogue Fitness was there. They, if you don't know what Rogue Fitness is, you might not have stepped into a gym or watched anything with regard to gyms or powerlifting on television or strongman in the last 10 or 15 years. But Rogue is a Columbus-based company. They pretty much make all of the gym equipment, especially for lifting, powerlifting and things of that nature, barbells, the plates, all that stuff. They had a very heavy presence there because they are a local company. And I can come back to talking to Rick, the creator of that company, in a little bit. But there were other fitness companies there that were selling, like X Bands was there. I bought a workout band from them. There were the companies that were selling like lifting belts, straps, gloves, like all the kind of stuff that you would need. There were other equipment companies that were there that were definitely there to capture like the gym owners that would be attending, to kind of get them to be buying items for their gym. There are clothing companies there. There weren't any clothing companies that I particularly purchased. I thought some of it was a little cheap looking, overpriced for how cheap it looked. I'm going to say they're no-name companies because I still have not seen them on Instagram or anything like that. And so I was expecting to see more meal prep companies. And so at Olympia, there's, MegaFit Meals and Trifecta. Those are the two really big ones right now. And neither one of them were there, even though a lot of their athletes were. And so there was one local meal prep company. I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I can show a picture of the food that I had gotten. They had kind of set up themselves more as an outlet for lunch, just like food, like a food vendor, but it happened to be meal prep food, which obviously is going to cater to the attendees of this event. So it was a little overpriced for what it was, but I get it. Convention food. It was probably better than your typical convention food. And they had like a whole row of microwaves behind them, and there were kind of microwaves everywhere for people to be heating up their prep that they brought with them, because they weren't searching bags or anything. So you could bring like an entire meal prep with you, in addition to heating up any meals that they bought. So I was expecting to see more of that, just because that's an easy promo, easy sell to people when you're trying to get them to, get into a health and fitness lifestyle. The companies that did, so I have on here, did you meet any other RDs? I did not meet any other RDs because I don't know many that are in the fitness industry. I think the most well-known dietitian, Dylan Bear, he was not there. He lives in Arizona, so it's kind of a lot to go from there to Columbus if none of your athletes are competing. But the companies that did work with RDs, I felt like made that very known, like you didn't have to ask. So like that meal prep company, which I have a picture on my phone and it's going to bother me, like what the name of their company is. Let's go to our Arnold picture section, shall we? Visionary Meals, that's what it's called, out of Ohio. So Visionary, on their menu of options that they had to choose from, said at the bottom that all of the macros and micros were calculated by their registered dietitian, and it had their name, which I should have taken a picture of that sign. And then there was another supplement company that very clearly had, like, if you have questions, please contact our registered dietitian, and it had her name at the bottom. But there were other companies that were there. There was Evolve Telemedicine, which works with folks when obviously in telehealth, but doing things such as like helping people through their hormone replacement therapy and pretty much the use of whatever legal steroids they can get their hands on, or whatever people are injecting themselves with in the fitness industry. So I was working on that and a bunch of other stuff, and have their card somewhere in this office. But it was like this laundry list of things that I believe a dietitian can help enhance those things and kind of ensure safety a little bit more, especially if you're doing hormone replacement therapy, things of that nature. Really trying to like build muscle, like train to be a professional bodybuilder. Dietitians are part of that process. And so the guy that was kind of working the table, I just asked him like straight up, like, hey, do y'all hire dietitians? And he was like, no. And I kind of made the face, and he was like, we're just not there yet. Like, we're just working on all of these other things. And he just proceeds to list everything that's on the poster. And he's like, yeah, we're just not at a point where we're ready to bring dietitians in and really do things in dietetics. And I was like, okay, homie doesn't know what he's talking about. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, is it because you can't afford us or you don't understand what we do? And he just didn't say anything and kind of chuckled. And then my sister kind of broke the ice and was like, anyway. But after talking to another person who works in the fitness industry, who is not a dietitian, he was like, these people don't understand, unless they already, know a dietitian or originated their company with a dietitian, they don't get it. And you're talking to salespeople at the same time that might not get it. And I was like, well, everything that he listed are things that dietitians are fully qualified to assist with. If someone is eating food in addition to doing what they need to do, to become a professional bodybuilder, we should be involved. And it was really interesting during one of the panel sessions. They were doing an interview with Eddie Hall, who is a very famous strongman competitor, who is over the course of this year training to do classic bodybuilding and is in talks to be coached by C-Bum's coach and kind of show up more on the amateur circuit at the end of the year, maybe at Olympia. But this dude is huge. And one of the things that he said that stuck out was, he was like, bodybuilding is 90% nutrition and the rest is just showing up and doing the work. And I just laughed and looked at my sister like, oh, okay. And we were like, if it's 90% nutrition, 90% of the people that are here should be dietitians or nutrition professionals, or not just fitness professionals. And not some certified nutritionist. Like I kept saying it like that, and people would start laughing in front of me because they knew that I was giving them crap. And NASM was there. I just didn't go up to their booth because I didn't want to get into it. But if one of the biggest athletes in strongman is coming in and saying that fitness and bodybuilding and strongman is 90% nutrition, why aren't we more involved? And why aren't companies seeing that value? And do they really understand our value? So it kind of goes back to that whole thing about, as a profession, do we need to work harder to really make people see that we're valuable as performance dietitians, not just in that group sports setting, which is all the rage right now, of getting in and working with collegiate athletes and Olympians, regular Olympians, not bodybuilding Olympians, working with professional sports teams and really taking that route to focusing more on helping people become bodybuilders, helping them be strongmen, Highland Games athletes, all the things that were there. Like power lifters need a dietitian too. That is extremely strenuous on the body. My friend that was there is getting into powerlifting at, in his mid 40s, and was just kind of commenting like, yeah, if dietitians were involved a little bit more, maybe these guys wouldn't be dropping dead. All these things we're doing to ourselves, when we hold our breath for an extreme amount of time just to be able to lift something out, or lift something up, and we're blacking out and all these things. And he's like, nutrition needs to be a bigger part of it, but the fitness side doesn't understand that. And so apparently those RDs and those students that really want to get into performance nutrition, but maybe have this niche towards maybe working one-on-one, more like a personal trainer, there's people out there that could benefit from you and would pay you what they pay a personal trainer if you can show them the results they need. It's all in the results. People keep paying their trainer when they can see their gains. They should also be paying their RD if they can see their gains, because we know it's a give and take with regard to that. Any new food products or supplements? I already talked about some of the Pop-Tart thing. There wasn't anything but that new Rain energy drink that I liked. And so I didn't really sample very much. Like I said, I'm picky when it comes to protein. Whey protein gives me a stomach ache. I was trying not to feel like crap while I was walking around and possibly stuck in an area because it was so busy, and I don't really need to have a stomach ache while I'm trying to enjoy myself and hang out with my sister and my friends that happen to show up. And so is there anything else there other than bodybuilding? Well, I mentioned obviously my sister was there, and it wasn't for bodybuilding. She was there for Highland Games, but Rogue Powerlifting and Strongman has a huge presence. They had built within the expo area their own 2,800 seat arena off to the side that they were doing a lot of the major strongman competitor stuff in. There was Ninja Warrior stuff. There was different companies doing powerlifting, like not companies, but like organizations that do like amateur powerlifting, something powerlifting. They all have like their little niche things. World Chase Tag was the big thing that people were interested in this year, and that has its own celebrity base within it, and it's hilarious. Like these guys, high school kids following these guys around, like, let's take pictures, man. I'm like, what the heck is that? And it's like, oh, he World Chase Tag. It's like, okay. So lots of stuff, all the variations of lifting things were there. Which I didn't realize there were so many. And then when judo showed up, jiu-jitsu and judo showed up, they took over a large area. And then World's Strongest Firefighter, they started in one area and then finished on the stage. What else was there? That was just in the expo area. In the convention center itself, if you walked around, there were other different like kind of amateur powerlifting things going on. If you went up to the second floor into the main ballroom, they had turned that into the pole fitness area. So they like did the lighting, they had the poles up, made it feel more like a club. So that I guess people could get into it a little bit more, because it's a little awkward when someone's like on a stripper pole with all the lights on. So I kind of agreed there. And then there were just kind of random things going on that didn't start until Saturday, where you started to see more of the younger kids walking around. So the cheerleading, tumbling, all the dance related things. So things that were attracting the local middle school kids, high school kids, with regard to like those team sports in that way. They were using the other areas of the convention center to do those things. I didn't really walk around to any of that. Just because my feet hurt. So I was trying to limit how much I was having to walk. So I'm looking at, did you take your picture in front of the Arnold statue? I did not. I had ample opportunity to, I just didn't. So on Friday it rained. And so that wasn't about to happen. My hair was all straightened and cute, and it was just pouring down rain. And then on Saturday, I could have snuck out there early in the morning, but my sister was already inside getting warmed up for her competition, and I was by myself at that moment. My friend that met us that day hadn't arrived yet, and so I was in line for coffee. You could look right out the doors and see the Arnold statue. And shout out to Crimson Cup Coffee, the best, the best, the best. The best coffee that I had by far while I was in Ohio. Let's see, who else is on who were the people you were taking pictures with? Were they athletes? Okay, so I didn't post many pictures of myself. And so there was maybe some selfies with like me and my sister. Obviously, she was an athlete. But on Friday, my friend Scott Powell, who is an OG professional flatland BMX rider who owns Chenga, which is one of the kind of original skate parks in Ohio that really catered to both skateboarding and BMX for God only knows how many years. And so I've known Scott for at least 15, 16 years, maybe longer than that. The origins of our friendship, I don't really remember. One day we were friends. And so it might have originated with my best friend Caitlin being friends with him first, and then being at Interbike in Vegas, which is Interbike is the big mountain biking and BMX convention every year in Vegas around September, October, that kind of brings everybody to town that's in that industry. We probably were at an Interbike conference or after a party or Nora Cup party, and we were just friends. And so we've been friends ever since. And so he lives in Cleveland, not a far drive from Columbus. So he came down on Friday. He usually goes every year anyway, since he is a business owner in the sports world. And he does maintain some sponsorships for the skate park that are kind of in the sports world. And he actually knew the owner of Mutant, it's a Canadian-based company that does like the protein and all the things. And the owner is a professional bodybuilder who used to be a flatland BMXer and now wants to go back to being a flatland BMXer. I don't know. If you don't know what flatland is, Google it. It's pretty interesting. And then on Saturday, one of my good friends, Lou Caparelli, also from the BMX world originally, who is a Columbus local now, came by to hang out for a little bit. I hadn't seen him since 2009, like right before I left Vegas to go back to school. And it was so good to see him. Lou, the origins of our friendship go back to 2000, the year 2000. That's summer of 2000 when the Gravity Games were in Providence. At the time, Lou was the manager of the Schwinn BMX team. So he jokes and says he was paid to babysit a bunch of grown men who ride children's bikes for a living. And he was the manager. We were all at the same hotel or something of that nature. And I want to say Lou liked my two-tone Doc Martens because Lou used to have like this greaser look back in the day. And he invited us to dinner with all of these BMX riders that I am still friends with to this day. Shout out to Chris Doyle, among the others. And so essentially I was 17 years old when I met all of them. And then over the years of living in Vegas and going to Interbike and being at Nora Cup parties, ran into all of these guys from time to time, and then ran into Lou again in 2009. And we became inseparable from there. And we've maintained a great friendship over the years. And so it was really good to see him. Lou worked for Rogue Fitness for about 10 years, sourcing all of the metal for everything that they make. Everything's made out of metal. And so worked for that company for a long time. So he's very familiar with the world of what goes on at the Arnold. And so he was actually introduced me to Rick, who was the original founder of Rogue Fitness, who just essentially says that he's retired and passed the company on to his children, but he just likes to hang out at all the cool events. He was really, really nice. And it was cool to meet him and just kind of see, get that local feel for that company, how they're such a huge company, but they're very still like, they don't act bigger than their britches, so to speak. And so Lou now works in agriculture, which is hilarious given what I do now. And so he now works for a company that sources materials for John Deere and different agricultural equipment. So he went kind of in a very similar direction as far as working for agriculture in the most random way possible. So I was joking that he'll have to come down to LSU and talk to the ag business students about supply chain and all of this stuff with regard to agriculture, because they would get a kick out of him knowing his history and the fact that he stepped foot into a college class once and that was it. And he's been very successful ever since with what he does. So speaking of college, I got a question. Did you go to the OSU campus? No, I don't even know where it is in conjunction to where I was in Columbus. Like people kept talking about, oh, campus, OSU, da, da, da. I didn't even bother to look at a map. That's how much I didn't care. Yeah, I definitely didn't go to campus. So there was some rumor going around that like I was maybe secretly interviewing there. One, they're not hiring. And two, no, like I wouldn't make it that obvious. Oh, I'm going to the Arnold. Is Columbus cool? Would you go back again? That's a double-barreled question. Is Columbus cool? Well, I didn't really see a lot of it. And so it reminded me a little bit of all the little cities that I've been through, a little bit of Providence, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I didn't really go to a lot. I only went to like one restaurant that wasn't in a hotel. And I ended up getting sick. So I don't know about that. I mean, I have my friends that are there. So would I go back to Columbus? Probably. Would I go back to the Arnold? Probably. It might be cooler to go and not have to worry about being associated with a competitor, so you can kind of come and go and not have to be stuck somewhere. No offense to my sister at all, but just to kind of have that freedom. And then I would definitely maybe go on Sunday, maybe go Friday, take Saturday off, and then go on Sunday. Is it expensive? Is Columbus expensive? I don't know what this question is. Everything's expensive these days, but it's not expensive to go physically walk into the expo. So it's only like $30 a day or something like that. And you can buy different packages. So if you know you're going to be there the whole weekend, they'll knock $5 off of it. Or you can buy VIP packages that include like photo opportunities, autograph opportunities, packages that had tickets for the bodybuilding shows that were in the evening that you needed a ticket for. But if you're just a local going in, you could actually go into the convention center and go to everything that wasn't in the expo for free. So if you really want to see pole fitness, or if you really want to see, go see your niece and her cheerleading squad do her thing, you could do that. And then, like I said, it was about $30 a day for individual daily tickets to get into the expo. So not like a super amount of money. And $30, I mean, if you're going and you're going, you see panels, you see athletes, you do a meet and greet, all that's kind of worth it in the $30, in my opinion. My suggestions for future attendees. Okay, so my suggestions is very comfortable shoes, as comfortable as possible. And if they're still really comfortable, throw a Dr. Scholl's in there. That you're going to be doing more standing than walking. And sometimes you're on that carpet and sometimes you're on that convention floor. I had bought brand new sneakers that were so comfortable when I tried them on in the store, and so comfortable when I was walking through the airport in them on Thursday. And then I hit that convention floor and was like, oh, these aren't as comfortable. I could use an insole right now. And so definitely doing that with your shoes. Even though Columbus can be rainy, cold, what have you, outside, you're probably not going to leave the building very much. And so you don't really need to dress warm, because you're just going to be wanting to take things off and put it somewhere. Friday, I was okay. I actually wore this Ryderwear top on Friday and I was fine. But then on Saturday, when I was wearing a sweatshirt, I was dying because there were so many people in there. And so the body heat, yes, layers are fine, but you'd probably be fine walking around in a tank top the whole time, and then just, run to your car, run to your car service. Other suggestions, bring a bag. And so I had full intentions of buying a wolf pack. Buying a wolf pack when I was there. I wasn't intending on buying that size. I was just planning on getting a 9-liter one, which would have been fine because I'm not a big take of samples people person. Like if it's not going to do me any good, I'm not going to take it. And a lot of times, like they're shoving stuff in your face and you just take it anyway, and I'll give it to my sister. The only time I really got a lot of samples is if I happen to find a product that I really liked and I purchased the product, the bag that they would give you would be full of samples as a thank you. And so I didn't really need a ton of bag space. So when I got the wolf pack at first, I was like, I'm just going to carry it around under my arm. But then people start handing you stuff. So after a while, I started wearing the backpack with my fanny pack on. And it was a lot on my lower back since I'm not used to wearing a backpack every day. But I did it again on Saturday because I just wanted to make sure I had plenty of space for whatever I would be accumulating. I made more of a plan to shop on Saturday after I kind of saw the lay of the land and what products were actually being sold and thinking about how much they were selling them for, and realizing like there was one company selling their topical lotions for like, it was like buy one, get one free almost. And then with some of them, it was like they were selling them at like 75% off what they would normally sell on their website. And so I made plans to kind of hit up booths to go shopping on Saturday. So I wanted to make sure I had room to put that stuff. But you're not guaranteed to get like a good bag like that you would normally get at a conference to be able to put stuff in. There's like no real guarantee on that. Don't make any guarantees on what you might accumulate while you're there. Like my sister did not bring any blender bottles with her because she was like, oh, last year that's all I got were blender bottles. This year they were not so keen to give away those types of things. It would be like they were selling them for $5. Or there was one of the booths was making people do push-ups. I was like, push-ups for a blender bottle? Keep your blender bottle. On the first day, I don't think I had a water bottle on me the whole time. And then the next day I made sure I had a water bottle shoved in the side of my backpack to make sure I didn't need to go spend God only knows how much they were selling bottles of water for. And then of course I was hitting up the energy drink booth from time to time to get something to drink. Other suggestions, definitely plan out your day. If you want to make sure that you see prejudging for bodybuilding, they were pretty good about sticking to time on those things. And so really go through the app. There is an app. Go through the app and see the timing of that and really make sure that you're in the right place at the right time. Either if you can squeeze in and get a seat in the front, or if you can get like a close standing spot, which I am told if you want to meet more of the female athletes, stand on if you're looking at the stage, you're going to want to stand on the right side. That's where the women's room was. And so they were sneaking out and running in the bathroom before the competition. And then after the competition, Angel Competition Bikinis was right next to the stage on that side. And a lot of those female athletes are sponsored by them. So they were kind of going straight to that booth to say hi to people. And so my sister was texting me from standing outside the women's room, like, oh, there's all these like wellness athletes over here. You're missing it. And by the time I got over there, they were all gone. Any last thoughts? Well, last thoughts would be kind of going back to the dietetics and the fitness thing. And so one thing that I do want to make clear that might be like, why are you making this video? There's this thing going around that I dislike sports nutrition. I dislike sports dietetics. I don't dislike any part of what we do. It's just not for me personally. I don't have a problem with those that do sports nutrition. If that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. Like, make it your own. What I'm kind of pointing out here is that there's way more to it than team sports, and you could probably create really awesome opportunities by starting to do more personalized nutrition with individual athletes, either from a coaching standpoint, getting teamed up with a bodybuilding coach. Dylan Bear does it best. He's the RD and the bodybuilding coach. Check him out on Instagram if you don't already. Teaming up with people to really show that you can provide that aspect that they don't have the full expertise in. But as a team package, you can be charging maybe a little bit more to these people that are paying for this coaching, knowing that they're getting, both of those pieces. There's just so much opportunity. And then from the company standpoint, the food companies, there's tons of opportunities for dietitians to be teaming up with these food companies to be, promoting their product, to really making sure their product is the claims that they're making are appropriate. I think it always helps when you have a spokesperson that has more credentials. It just makes things look more legitimate, seem more legitimate. You have a better opportunity to get into our world of dietetics and we're working with dietitians. So I could see in the future, if these fitness companies, these fitness food product companies would get on board with working with dietitians more, you would start to see these food items at Fancy, and you don't. And Fancy is where you're going to get your best feedback. You're going to get people who are going to be like wanting to wholesale carry your product. And I just think there's a lot of untapped opportunity to really have a fun career, a lucrative career, especially if you already like fitness, if you're already into bodybuilding, if you're already into personal training, if you're already a personal trainer and you're becoming an RD or thinking about doing that, to really take what you love so much about it and figure out how you can make it better with what you know. And I just feel like I'm hoping to see over, the next couple of years, if I do go back to the Arnold, or if I happen to be able to get to the Olympia is always a weird time of year, to see more RDs really working with these companies and with these athletes to be pushing nutrition to the forefront, like we're pushing everything else to the forefront, where it's all about training and tanning and your suit and your hair. How about your dietitian? Like really making sure that we are part of that interdisciplinary team of fitness, because fitness industry is not going anywhere and we're not going anywhere. So why not team up a lot more to be working on stuff? So if you're interested in getting into this, I highly suggest hitting up the Arnold or the Olympia, or even like a local, NPC bodybuilding competition. You'll find those more localized, or hit up one of the bigger IFBB pro events that happen throughout the year, the Olympia qualifiers, see what they have for expo vendors, and see who you can talk to, see what trainers are there that you can talk to, especially if it's in your local area and you're thinking about kind of creating that aspect of your practice. It doesn't hurt to have conversations with people. You might not want to give up all your good ideas to these folks, but at least start that conversation of, how can I help you? How can we help the industry? How can we be even more successful together? All right, y'all. So that was my little mini review of the Arnold. I hope you liked the pictures and videos that I shared. If you're interested in getting more information about the Arnold, hit up their Instagram at Arnold Sports. They have an app, they have a website, they have the governor. And so if you're interested in heading to the Arnold next year, let me know. I might see you there. And until next time, this is Dr. Erin McKinley, and we'll see you next time.